With the excessive increase in the consumer price index by over 3% in the last 1 year, many families have been plunged into insurmountable debts while trying to keep up with the incessant rise in prices of basic goods and services and the significant reduction in purchasing power. Having more than one income stream is a recipe to overcome this major challenge and the appropriate solution to set you on the path to financial independence. Fortunately, Airbnb offers an easy and effective way to generate an extra source of income for you. Airbnb has over time grown to be a household name and solution many families use to generate additional income for themselves. However, I've noted that some individuals don't know how to set up this business effectively or don't even know how to scale up their existing Airbnb business from a side hustle to a very successful business venture, which could ultimately maximize their earnings potential to the highest. So if you're curious about how to start this side hustle or how to transform it from a side hustle to a successful business venture, then ensure to watch till the end. In this video, I'm going to explain how to start a successful Airbnb business even if you're new to the game. 2, how to scale your Airbnb business if you already have one existing to a very profitable business venture. And 3, which is most important, is how to run an Airbnb even when you don't own any properties. Now let me show you how to start the Airbnb business in 7 easy steps. So the step 1 is what I call the research phase. So if you're a good investor or homeowner, I want you to treat the Airbnb as a real business. Now, of course, just like any other business, before you embark on it, you want to research about it before listing your property and setting your prices. You want to gather all the information about the location, regulatory requirements, all the funds you require to run this business, your house standards, and many more. Next is for you to set your goals and objectives. What are you trying to achieve with the Airbnb business? Is this financial freedom? Are there financial goals, non-financial goals? Clearly establish those factors before you list your property. The last under this is to determine the legal structure which you need to use. Could it be a sole proprietorship, or do you want to set up an incorporation business? Step 2 is what I call obtaining the requisite permission. So before you kickstart this Airbnb business, it's very important for you to determine what permits or permission would you need to run the business. So permits could include those ones from regulatory authority, which could be like the municipal or the city permits. It could be permissions from the landlords or from the lender, the homeowners association, the condominium management, and so on. This is especially important if the property is not owned by you. Now, here's what you could actually check out for. First, you want to review the lease agreement if there are any restrictions on subletting the home or even hosting people on a short-term basis. Also, you want to review your lender's agreement if you have a mortgage to determine if there are restrictions or prohibitions from listing your property for Airbnb without their consent. You also want to check if the short-term lease rentals is acceptable by your local laws in wherever location you live in. If you live in a subsidized housing neighborhood, you might want to contact local authorities because most times I realize that they have restrictions around Airbnb and short-term rentals or even subletting. One very common mistake I've seen is when tenants sublet their homes without the consent of the landlord. It is important for you to know that you could actually be sued or required to pay for damages due to faster depreciation and depletion of the properties or assets within your units. Also, considering the fact that this was not captured or it was prohibited in your rental agreement. So I would recommend you get the necessary permits before you embark on this business. Step 3 is what I call setting up the legal structure. So if you have made up your mind to run this business as an incorporation, it will be important for you to set up a legal business identity in form of a limited liability company, LLC. Typically, this will serve as the vehicle within which you can make all the investment in any Airbnb properties you decide to purchase or to use for this venture. So if you don't know how to set up a business, I've tagged a video here that can show you step-by-step guides on how to set up an incorporation from the scratch till the end. It's very easy and it can be completed in less than 20 minutes. Now, before you make up your mind on the structure you want to go for, it's important to think of the tax implication of both structures or the different structures you choose to adopt. Always remember that proceeds from a sole proprietorship business, if it's an Airbnb registered in your personal name, would always be added to your gross income in your personal income tax filing. However, if you purchase that same business through an incorporation, that business will stand as a separate legal entity from you as an individual, such that it is not going to directly affect your personal income. Finally, under this, I want to recommend that you familiarize yourself with any local laws, any legal requirements, including the Airbnb user agreement, which is very crucial. So step 4 is the point where you have to search for the property you are going to use for your business. So if you're looking to set up a high income generating property, it's important to take into consideration the location of that property. For example, properties that are situated in high tourist zone or major cities tend to perform better and generate more income than those out of town. However, this step does not really apply to those that are homeowners using a part of their home for their Airbnb business. That's because they already own the home and are not looking to purchase another property anytime soon. So step 5 is where you get your property prepared for the business. After you've done the necessary checks, gotten the permits and all the necessary things you need to do, the next step is to invest in the business, both in the aesthetics of the business and all necessary assets or items in the house that's going to make it comfortable for whoever the guest would be subsequently. So number 6 step for me is what I call the property listing. In this phase, you will need to create the listing on the Airbnb website, or you can log in to list the property if you already have an account. So as you can see, it's very simple. All you need to do is go to Airbnb website, which is the home page for Airbnb website. Then you need to click on Airbnb your home, which is at the top right. And once you click on that, it's going to bring you to this page where you can then click on Airbnb setup at the top right. Now once this pop-up comes out, you then need to enter your number, enter your details and fill the information to create your account. So once your account is created, then you can create the listing, take a picture and put up all the necessary things you need to put to make your home very clear to any other person that is going to use it. Now the 7th step is what I call the price setting. So once your listing is all set and guests are ready to book, the next is for you to set the price at which you want the guests to book your home for. But before you do this, it's important for you to understand Airbnb fees. So ideally, Airbnb takes about 3% of the total cost for most hosts. These fees can actually be higher if you're an Airbnb Plus host or you have a very strict cancellation policy. Additionally, to ensure that you are very effective with your price setting, I'd recommend you take advantage of Airbnb metrics. So this metrics basically shows comparison of rates across board and typically gives you suggestions on whether to increase or decrease your rates on a day-to-day basis. You can also set a minimum number of nights an individual can book just to offset the cost of frequent turnovers. Finally, if you're offering extra services to the guest, don't be afraid to charge a premium rate for that extra service you're offering. The last step is what I call closely monitoring your listing. So it's important for you to continuously monitor your listing to ensure that the guests are having an amazing experience living in your home. So I would recommend you physically check your property to ensure it's always in good condition. Most importantly, ensure to respond to guest queries as quickly as possible. So these are the factors that can typically get you great customer reviews, which would impact the value of your home. So if you feel that this is a lot to handle yourself, you can hire a property manager or a co-host that can help you manage this Airbnb account. Now there are some other factors you want to consider apart from the ones I mentioned earlier. The first is what I call the insurance coverage. The second other factor you need to consider is maintaining separate bank accounts from your personal accounts. If your business is an incorporation, you might want to set up an account using the business's name. So this makes it easy for you to offset your tax liability against your startup cost for the business. I would also recommend that you get accounting applications such as QuickBooks that can help track your inflow and outflow in the account. So usually QuickBooks subscription costs about $10 to $12 on a monthly basis for its use. The other very important thing for you to consider if you're serious about making Airbnb a business venture is what I call branding. Now for serious investors in this business who want to use this as a good or serious business venture, it's important for you to create a distinct brand about your business that differentiates you from other people. A strong brand usually brings in more customers and serves as a basis to promote or create awareness about your product or services that you offer. So this might include designing a logo, setting up your color scheme, having taglines, creating t-shirts with a brand name, and many more. Now, if you're interested in doing this business but you don't own a property, I'm going to show you how you can make money or access this gold mine even without owning a property. Number one is what I call the Airbnb experience. In 2016, Airbnb decided to expand its portfolio or services offered by introducing the Airbnb experience. So the Airbnb experience is a way for Airbnb hosts to give guests a taste of the local area through the provision of tour guide services. So if you're a lively person who loves to interact with different people and you have in-depth knowledge about the area, then the Airbnb experience is just for you. So the Airbnb experience also serves as an additional source of revenue for an existing Airbnb host. Through this approach, you can host things like cooking classes, city tour, sports lessons, painting classes, even online platforms such as virtual learning, live videos, and many more. Now, why I love the Airbnb experience is that for you to offer this experience, you don't necessarily have to host the guests overnight at any property. Now, for you to gain access into this Airbnb experience, you need to submit an application on their platform, and Airbnb will vet your profile and respond within a week. So if you're interested in the link for this, please drop a comment. So the second way you can make money with Airbnb without owning a property is through property management and co-hosting. So as a property manager, you just typically overlook the property owned by an Airbnb host on their behalf. You will typically handle everything from the booking, responding to guest inquiries, organizing the property's cleaning and maintenance, and much more. So depending on how well you negotiate with the property's host or owner, you can make as much as 50% of the rental income in your negotiation. On the other hand, if you don't want to be a property manager, you can be a co-host with the existing host. This role is almost similar to the property manager, except that you would have lesser involvement. Now, Airbnb allows up to 3 co-hosts, which is also good for you. So if you typically find a host that cannot manage the affairs of the property, you can become a co-host and you can make as much as 10 to 20% or even more, depending on how well you negotiate with the existing host. The third way to make money without owning a property on Airbnb is what I call Airbnb arbitrage. So Airbnb arbitrage is simply when you rent a property and then sublet the property by listing it on vacation rental locations like Airbnb and much more. In other words, simply get a home on lease and rent to other tenants through platforms like Airbnb and others. However, this approach will only work if the sublet income will exceed the total cost expenses, including the original rental costs. So in order to do this successfully, you need to take into consideration these 2 factors. Number 1, you need to explain to the property owner your core objective of doing this on their behalf and why it will be more beneficial for you to do it than them doing it themselves. This can be effectively communicated through a business proposal if you have any. The second and most important thing you need to do is to explain the value proposition to the host or the landlord or the owner of the property. At this point, you're emphasizing on the benefits of you managing it on their behalf. For instance, you can emphasize on guaranteed income, where you typically highlight the benefit of getting a guaranteed income through this means rather than the long rental. This is especially valuable in recent times because there's been high records of long-term rental defaults. You can also entice the property owner with perks such as improvement to their property, saving the landlord the time and hassle of dealing with their operations, such as the guest check-ins, cleaning, maintaining orderliness, and so on. Also, you'll be providing guarantee of additional security and insurance coverage to the property to the owner. And last but not the least is to emphasize on your years of experience in the property rental market. So before you start the Airbnb arbitrage, ensure that you get the necessary permits and follow all the steps I mentioned earlier in the previous phase. Finally, if you're running this business and you're finding it very challenging to deal with difficult customers, I'd recommend that you set very clear rules about the usage of the property to avoid further issues down the line. Also, I recommend you take pictures before and after the guests come into your home and perform an inspection immediately after they leave to ensure that no damages were identified. So remember, you can actually report damages done by the customer or the guest, and those amounts or the equivalent will be surcharged to the customer as a refund to you. The last thing is for you to set up door cameras at the front of the entrance so you can track those that come in and go out if it's beyond the limit established. I hope you found this video really insightful. If you have any questions down the line regarding setting up this business or how it runs, feel free to drop the comments down below. Otherwise, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends and subscribe to the channel for more interesting content down the line. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. Have a great day and see you at the next video. Bye.